What if robots didn't just assemble cars, but built entire cities? What if automation didn't just speed up work, but replaced entire industries overnight? And what if, in your lifetime, you weren't competing with robots, but collaborating with them as partners, as colleagues, even as friends? This is not a science fiction story. This is the story of robotics and automation right now, and how it will reshape the future of work, society, and humanity itself. In this video, we're going deep, and I mean deep. 2 hours exploring the history, the breakthroughs, the challenges, and the future of robotics and automation. By the time we're done, you won't just understand what's coming, you'll feel like you've stepped into the future yourself. But here's the kicker. While most people are worried about robots taking jobs, the real story is far more complicated. Because what's happening with robotics and automation isn't just about replacement, it's about reinvention. Stick with me, because what you're about to learn could completely change how you see the next 10, 20, even 50 years of your life. Let's start with the obvious. Why are we even talking about robotics and automation now? After all, robots aren't new. We've had factory machines for decades, ATMs for half a century, and washing machines even longer. The reason is speed, the speed of progress. In the past, machines were dumb. They followed instructions, they worked tirelessly, but they couldn't think. Today, that's changing. Robotics isn't just mechanical anymore. It's intelligent, it's adaptive. It's powered by artificial intelligence, sensors, and networks that make machines more capable than ever before. That combination, smart AI plus physical robots, is what makes this era different. It's why the next 20 years of robotics will feel like 200 years of progress. Let's rewind for a moment. The very first industrial robot, called Humanoid, appeared in the 1960s. Imagine a giant mechanical arm bolted to the floor of a General Motors factory, welding car doors with precision. At the time, people thought it was incredible, a glimpse of the future. But compared to today, Humanoid was basically a glorified toaster with muscles. It didn't learn, it didn't adapt. It just did the same task over and over, day after day. Fast forward to the 1980s and 1990s, and robots spread into more industries: electronics, warehouses, food production. Japan became a global leader in robotics, filling factories with precision machines. Then came the 2000s. Computers got cheaper, sensors got better, and suddenly robots could see with cameras, feel with touch sensors, and think just a little using basic AI. This is when robots started stepping out of cages and working with humans, not just near them.
Now here's where it gets interesting, the collision of robotics with artificial intelligence. Think about it. A robot without AI is just a machine. An AI without a body is just code. But when you fuse the two, when intelligence meets physical capability, that's when you get magic. That's when a robot can navigate a warehouse without rails, perform surgery with sub-millimeter accuracy, drive a car through traffic, or even flip backwards like Boston Dynamics' humanoid robots. This fusion of AI and robotics is why we're entering a new age, and the pace of change is only accelerating. But here's the big question. Is this acceleration heading toward a utopia where robots free us from labor and give us more time to live, or a dystopia where machines take control and humans are left behind? That's what we're going to explore in depth. So let's talk about right now. In 2025, you might not realize it, but you're already surrounded by robots and automation. When you order something on Amazon and it shows up the next day, that's robotic automation in warehouses. When you see cars navigating traffic with no one at the wheel, that's robotics powered by AI. When a doctor uses a surgical robot to perform a heart operation with extreme precision, that's robotics. Even when you ask your smart vacuum to clean your floor, yep, that's robotics too. Robotics has gone from sci-fi to everyday life so smoothly that most people don't even notice. But here's the twist. Robotics isn't just about convenience, it's about transformation. Entire industries are being rebuilt around it. Factories are running lights-out operations, meaning no humans at all, just robots working 24/7 in the dark. Logistics companies are deploying drone delivery fleets. Restaurants in Asia are hiring robot waiters because they're cheaper and more consistent than humans. And hospitals are using robots not just for surgery, but for cleaning rooms, delivering medication, even comforting patients. This isn't the future, this is today, and it's accelerating. So the real question is, if robots can already do all of this, what will they be capable of in 10 years, 20 years? And what does that mean for you? Think about your morning. You wake up and check your phone. Automation has already curated your newsfeed, your email is filtered by AI, and your smart speaker is waiting to turn on your lights or adjust your thermostat. When you call a rideshare, that app is built on automated algorithms. When you order food, robots may be preparing it, and drones could be delivering it. Even your banking transactions, fraud detection, loan approvals, trading decisions are powered by automation. We don't live in a pre-robot world anymore. We live in a blended one where humans and machines are already sharing the load. Let's start with logistics. Amazon, Alibaba, DHL. These companies depend on robotics to move millions of packages a day. In Amazon's warehouses, Kiva robots zip across the floor like an army of little orange Roombas, carrying shelves of products to human pickers. This reduces human walking time from 12 miles a day down to a few steps, a radical productivity boost. But here's the twist. Every improvement like this also makes humans less essential in the loop. And as robots get smarter, even the picking jobs may vanish. So the question is, if robots can already run the world's warehouses, what happens when they run the world's supply chains end to end? You've seen the headlines: self-driving cars, drone deliveries, sidewalk robots carrying your takeout. Waymo's robotaxis in Phoenix, Starship's delivery robots on campuses, Amazon Prime air drones hovering above neighborhoods. We're moving toward a world where transportation itself is automated. Truck drivers, delivery workers, even pilots, jobs that have been steady for decades, could shift dramatically in the next 10 to 20 years.
If you're enjoying this and want more deep dives into AI, robotics, and the future of technology, make sure to subscribe to Byte Frontier AI right now. Healthcare might be one of the most exciting and controversial areas of robotics. Today, surgeons use robotic systems like the Da Vinci surgical robot to perform ultra-precise operations. Exoskeletons are helping stroke patients walk again, and robotic nurses are beginning to appear, delivering supplies, disinfecting rooms, and even providing companionship to patients. Imagine an AI nurse who never forgets a dosage, never gets tired, and can monitor your vitals 24/7. That's not just possible, it's happening right now in trials around the world. But here's the catch. What happens when robots aren't just assisting doctors, but replacing them in some functions? Would you trust a machine to decide your treatment? You might not realize it, but robots are also entering kitchens and living rooms. In parts of Asia, robots serve food in restaurants, cook ramen noodles, and even mix drinks at bars. At home, vacuum robots, lawn mowing robots, and smart assistants are quietly reducing household labor. And startups are working on robot chefs that can prepare hundreds of recipes by mimicking professional chefs' movements. So yes, robots might soon cook your dinner and clean your dishes before you even step into the kitchen. Not all robots are about work. Some are about companionship. In Japan, where the elderly population is growing, robots like Paro, a robotic therapy seal, are used in nursing homes to reduce loneliness. In the West, kids play with AI-powered toys that adapt to their learning style. Even pets are getting robotic counterparts. Dogs like Sony's Aibo, which can recognize owners, play fetch, and display emotions. This is where robotics moves from utility to intimacy. And here's something most people miss. Not all robots have arms and legs. Many are invisible. Algorithms that trade stocks in microseconds. AI chatbots answering customer service calls.
machine vision systems monitoring crops in agriculture. This is automation without a body, and it's just as disruptive as physical robots. So right now, robotics and automation are everywhere. Factories, hospitals, kitchens, homes, schools, and even our phones. The line between human and machine contributions is blurring, and most of us don't even realize how dependent we already are. The future isn't waiting. It's creeping into our lives one task at a time. First, let's zoom out. This fear isn't new. Every major wave of technology has sparked panic about jobs. When weaving machines appeared in the 1800s, textile workers smashed them in protest. When tractors came to farms, people feared mass unemployment. When ATMs appeared in the 1970s, people thought bank tellers would vanish. But what actually happened? Yes, jobs disappeared, but new ones also appeared. Tellers shifted from handling cash to advising customers. Farmers moved into new industries. Technology reshaped work, but didn't erase it. So the real question is not, will robots replace jobs? It's, which jobs will they replace, and which new ones will they create?
Let's start with the ones most at risk. Transportation. Self-driving trucks threaten millions of truck driving jobs worldwide. Robotaxis could disrupt taxi and rideshare drivers. Retail. Cashiers are already being replaced by self-checkout, automated kiosks, and Amazon Go-style stores with no staff. Manufacturing. Robots have been replacing factory workers for decades, and with AI, even more roles will vanish. Clerical work. Algorithms now draft contracts, analyze spreadsheets, and file paperwork faster than humans ever could. Basic programming. With AI coding assistants like GitHub Copilot, junior developer tasks are being automated away. The pattern is clear. Jobs that are repetitive, predictable, and rules-based are the easiest to automate, and that's millions of jobs across industries. But here's the twist. Robots aren't just replacing jobs, they're transforming them. A factory worker may not assemble products anymore, but now manages a fleet of machines. A doctor may not stitch every incision, but oversees robotic surgery systems. A lawyer may not draft every document, but uses AI to generate drafts while focusing on strategy. In other words, the nature of work is shifting from doing to directing. And this shift opens a new kind of opportunity, if you're ready for it. Because while some jobs vanish, others are being born. Here's what people miss. Automation doesn't just destroy jobs, it creates new ones. Robotics technicians. Every robot needs building, programming, and maintenance. AI trainers. Machines need humans to label, correct, and refine data. Ethics officers. Companies are hiring specialists to guide responsible AI and robotics use. Automation managers, overseeing fleets of bots and systems. And creative professions. As machines take over grunt work, humans shift toward design, creativity, leadership, and strategy. So yes, robots take jobs, but they also create new categories of work that didn't exist 5 years ago. The real challenge? The transition.
Here's where things get messy. Transitions are painful. If you're a 55-year-old truck driver, telling you to just learn coding isn't realistic. If you're a cashier or a call center worker, retraining takes time and resources most people don't have. And while history shows new jobs do appear, they often require new skills. That gap between disappearing jobs and emerging ones is where society struggles. And this brings us to the billion-dollar question. How do we manage this transition? Who wins and who gets left behind? Here's the hard truth. Not everyone benefits equally. Companies win, lower costs, faster productivity. Consumers win, cheaper goods, more convenience. Highly skilled workers win, better tools, more leverage. But low-skill routine workers, they lose unless they adapt. And this creates tension, inequality, and resistance. It's not just individuals, it's nations. Countries leading in robotics, Japan, South Korea, Germany, the US, China, are poised to dominate industries. Developing nations that depend on cheap labor could be left behind if robots make low-cost labor irrelevant. We may see a global divide. Nations with robots soar ahead. Nations without struggle to keep up.
So what's the solution? Economists debate everything from reskilling programs to universal basic income to shorter work weeks. Some argue robots will free us from labor, letting humans focus on creativity, family, and meaning. Others warn we may face mass unemployment, unrest, and a struggle for purpose. Both futures are possible. Which one we get depends on choices made today by governments, companies, and individuals like you. So where does this leave us? The future of jobs isn't about replacement, it's about transformation. Yes, millions of jobs will vanish, but millions of new ones will be created. The question is, will society and will you adapt fast enough? Because the robots aren't waiting, they're already here.
Up until now, we've talked about robots that assist us, warehouse bots, surgical robots, household cleaners. But here's the real mind bender. The next generation of robotics won't just assist us, they'll rival us. In some cases, they'll surpass us. Let's start with humanoid robots. Companies like Tesla with their Optimus bot, Figure AI, and Agility Robotics are racing to build robots that don't just look human, but work like us. Why humanoids? Because our world is built for human bodies. Doors, stairs, tools, vehicles, they're all designed for 2 arms, 2 legs, and a torso. So if a robot can move like a human, it can step into our world seamlessly, without us needing to redesign everything. But here's the chilling thought. Once robots can walk like us, lift like us, and think with AI brains, what's stopping them from outperforming us in every single way? Now, let's shift gears. Forget humanoids. Imagine thousands of tiny robots working together like an army of ants. That's swarm robotics, inspired by nature. Ants can build colonies, bees can coordinate hive defense, and birds can fly in flocks with stunning precision. Engineers are building robotic swarms that can do the same. Drones planting forests after wildfires, swarms cleaning up oil spills, military units deploying robotic swarms in defense. One robot isn't that powerful, but thousands working in perfect sync could reshape industries overnight. Factories today already have robots, but the next generation? Fully autonomous. Picture this, a factory with no human workers, no managers even, because the robots don't need them. Machines designing, building, assembling, and repairing themselves. This isn't science fiction. Pilot projects are already underway in China, Germany, and the US. We're on the edge of seeing factories that can run 24/7, 365 days a year, without a single coffee break, vacation day, or paycheck. But if factories can run without humans, what happens to the economies that depend on human labor?
The most exciting and unsettling part of next-gen robotics is that they're not limited to human ability. Humans get tired, we make mistakes, we can only lift so much, move so fast, or calculate so quickly. Robots? They don't sleep, they don't need food, and when paired with AI, they can make billions of calculations in a blink. Imagine robots in construction, building skyscrapers in weeks, not years. Robots in disaster zones, saving lives where humans can't go. Robots in space, mining asteroids, building colonies on Mars. This isn't about replacing humans, it's about surpassing them. Here's the secret sauce. AI brains inside robotic bodies. Up until now, robots were dumb without humans telling them what to do. But large AI models, the same kind of tech behind ChatGPT, are being fused with robots. This means a robot can take natural language commands like, build me a wall here, cook dinner with these ingredients, sort these packages by destination. The robot doesn't just execute, it reasons, adapts, and learns. That's the game changer. Of course, with power comes risk. Humanoids could compete directly with humans for physical labor, swarms could be weaponized, autonomous factories could collapse industries overnight. AI-driven robots could act unpredictably if they misinterpret commands. Science fiction warns us about robot uprisings. The reality may be less dramatic, but more disruptive. Jobs, industries, and entire economies could be reshaped before people even realize what's happening. So here's where we are. Humanoids walking among us, swarms coordinating like digital ants, factories running themselves, and AI brains powering robots that think. This is not 50 years away. This is unfolding now.
So far, we've seen how robots are evolving, from warehouse helpers to humanoids, from swarms to autonomous factories. But here's the thing. Technology doesn't exist in a vacuum. Every robot that enters our world enters our society. And with that comes tough questions, ethical questions, moral questions, even questions about what it means to be human. Let's start with trust. Would you trust a robot surgeon to operate on you? Would you trust a self-driving car with your kids in the back seat? Would you trust an autonomous drone to decide what's a threat and what isn't on a battlefield? Robots don't get tired. They don't get distracted. But they also don't have morality. They don't feel guilt. They don't understand the stakes, at least not the way humans do. So when something goes wrong, and it will, who's responsible? The robot? The company? The programmer? Or the government that allowed it? This question of accountability is one of the biggest ethical challenges we face. Because if we can't decide who's responsible when robots fail, how can we ever fully trust them to take over critical roles in society? Let's talk about inequality. Automation doesn't affect everyone equally. If you're wealthy, robotics makes life easier. Your home gets smarter, your car drives itself, your medical care is faster and more precise. If you're working class, robotics may take your job and replace it with nothing. This creates what some call a robotic divide, a world where the benefits flow to a few, while the risks fall on the many. Left unchecked, this divide could widen the gap between rich and poor, between nations that have robotics and nations that don't. Now here's a darker angle: surveillance. Robots don't just work, they observe. They gather data. Drones can track movements. Delivery robots can map neighborhoods. Household assistants can listen to conversations. In the wrong hands, robotics could create an always watching, always listening society. And once that infrastructure exists, it's hard to turn back. So the question isn't just, what can robots do? It's also, what should they do? Perhaps the most chilling application of robotics is warfare. Autonomous drones, robot dogs with mounted weapons, swarms of AI-powered machines coordinating strikes without human intervention. On one hand, robots in war could reduce human casualties, sending machines instead of soldiers into danger. On the other hand, it opens a nightmare scenario. Wars fought without empathy, without hesitation, without human judgment. A robot doesn't ask whether a strike is morally justified. It just executes the command. So we have to ask, do we want machines making life and death decisions? Or is that a line humanity should never cross?
Here's a softer but equally fascinating dilemma: emotional bonds. Humans are wired for connection. We name our cars, we talk to our pets, we even say thank you to Siri. So what happens when robots become lifelike enough to trigger real emotional bonds? Imagine elderly people who prefer robotic caregivers because they never complain. Or children who grow up with AI companions instead of human friends. Is that healthy? Or are we building a generation that's more comfortable with machines than with humans? At the deepest level, robotics forces us to confront what it means to be human. If a robot can outperform us at physical labor, mental calculation, and maybe even creative tasks, what's left that's uniquely human? Some say it's emotion. Some say it's consciousness. Some say it's morality. But the truth is, we don't know. And robotics is forcing us to face questions we've been avoiding for centuries. So this is where we are. Trust, inequality, surveillance, war, relationships, identity. Robotics isn't just an engineering challenge, it's a human challenge. The machines may be built in labs, but their impact will be felt in homes, schools, hospitals, battlefields, and governments across the globe. And the next frontier, it's even bigger.
If you're enjoying this and want more deep dives into AI, robotics, and the future of technology, make sure to subscribe to Byte Frontier AI right now.
We've looked at robots in our homes, hospitals, and workplaces. But here's the bigger picture. Robotics and automation aren't just changing individual lives, they're changing nations. They're reshaping economies. They're shifting the balance of power on a global scale. Because in the 21st century, robotics isn't just about productivity, it's about dominance. For most of history, global power was defined by armies, navies, and nuclear weapons. Today, it's data, AI, and robotics. Countries that lead in robotics will control the supply chains, the factories, the medical systems, even the defense forces of tomorrow. That's why nations like the US, China, Japan, South Korea, and Germany are investing billions into robotics, not just for business, but for national security. And here's the question. What happens when one nation achieves robotic dominance and the rest are left behind? The United States has always been a tech leader. Silicon Valley drives innovation. Boston Dynamics builds some of the most advanced humanoid robots in the world. The U.S. military is also experimenting with autonomous drones, robotic supply chains, and AI-powered defense systems. But America's biggest advantage isn't just tech, it's scale, it's capital, it's the ability to fund startups, scale companies, and dominate markets. Still, America faces challenges. Regulation, politics, and global competition are slowing its edge.
Now, let's talk about China. China isn't just catching up. In some areas, it's already leading. China manufactures more industrial robots than any other nation. Its companies are deploying warehouse automation at massive scale. Its government is pouring resources into AI plus robotics integration. And here's the key. China's strategy is national. It's top-down. It's coordinated. The U.S. relies on private companies. China builds state-driven ecosystems. And that could give it an advantage in shaping global standards. Japan and South Korea, the robot pioneers. If you want to see the most robot-integrated societies today, look to Japan and South Korea. Japan has led in robotics since the 1980s, from industrial robots to humanoid research. Walk into a Japanese hotel and you might be checked in by a robot. Visit an elder care center and you'll see robotic assistants helping the elderly. South Korea? It has one of the highest robot-to-worker ratios in the world, especially in manufacturing. For these nations, robotics isn't just strategy, it's culture, it's everyday life. Europe's precision strategy. Europe, especially Germany, takes a different approach. Germany leads in precision engineering. Companies like Siemens and KUKA Robotics are world leaders in industrial automation. Europe's focus has been less flashy, more practical, integrating robotics into factories, energy systems, and smart infrastructure. But with new regulations like the EU AI Act, Europe also wants to lead in ethical robotics, setting global rules for how automation should be used.
And here's where things get tricky. Developing nations. For decades, developing countries relied on low-cost labor as their advantage, manufacturing clothes, electronics, and goods at cheaper rates. But what happens when robots make labor costs irrelevant? Why outsource to a factory in Bangladesh when a robotic factory in Germany can produce the same goods faster and cheaper? This shift could create a massive global divide, where wealthy nations get wealthier with robots and poorer nations struggle to adapt. But global impact isn't just about economics. It's about influence. Think about it. If a nation exports robots worldwide, it also exports its technology, its standards, its software, its values. Robotics becomes a form of soft power. Just like Hollywood projected U.S. culture in the 20th century, robotics could project national influence in the 21st. The danger? A robotic divide between nations. Countries that master robotics could dominate industries, trade, and even politics. Those that fall behind risk becoming dependent, buying robots instead of building them, following rules instead of setting them. And history shows technology gaps create power gaps, and power gaps create conflict. So the real question is, will robotics lead to global collaboration or global competition? So here's where we stand. Robotics isn't just about jobs, factories, or households. It's about nations. It's about who leads, who follows, and who gets left behind. The global race for robotics will shape the balance of power in the 21st century, just like oil and nuclear power shaped the 20th.
Imagine a city where traffic lights aren't controlled by human planners, but by swarms of AI-driven sensors. Cars drive themselves, delivery drones buzz overhead, garbage collection, power distribution, water supply, all automated. In these robotic cities, humans don't manage infrastructure, machines do, efficiently, quietly, without pause. We already see glimpses of this. Smart traffic in Singapore, delivery robots in San Francisco, autonomous subways in Dubai. Scale that up, and you get a city that literally thinks and runs itself. But if a city runs itself, where do humans fit in? Do we become masters of leisure or passengers in our own lives? Robotics and biotech. The rise of cyborgs. Now let's push further. What happens when robotics doesn't just exist outside us, but inside us? Prosthetics controlled by thought are already real. Neural implants can restore sight. Exoskeletons can give paralyzed patients the ability to walk. Fast forward, and we're talking about cyborg integration. Humans enhancing themselves with robotic limbs, AI brain chips, and sensory upgrades that give superhuman ability. Not just restoring lost function, but expanding human potential. The Earth isn't the final frontier, space is. And humans? We're fragile. We need oxygen, food, gravity, radiation shielding. Robots don't. That's why the first permanent Martian colonies may not be human, but robotic. Machines building habitats, mining asteroids, and laying the groundwork for human arrival. NASA and SpaceX already use robots on Mars. The next 50 years will see entire robotic space crews building the infrastructure for humanity's expansion into the stars. But let's bring it back to Earth. If robots can do everything, build, farm, deliver, heal, what do humans do? This is the idea of a post-work society. Some imagine a world where universal basic income frees people from labor, where humans focus on art, creativity, exploration, relationships. Others worry about a world where meaning is lost, where humans without jobs drift into apathy. The question becomes, if work no longer defines us, what does? And here's the paradox. Will robots finally free us? Or will they strip us of the very thing that gave us purpose?
Another vision is partnership. Instead of humans versus robots, it's humans plus robots. Think about it. Humans bring empathy, creativity, intuition. Robots bring precision, endurance, speed.
Together, they could achieve things neither could alone: curing diseases, building interstellar ships, creating sustainable ecosystems. The future may not be about one replacing the other, but about both evolving together. But there's a bigger question lurking in the shadows. If robots can think, create, adapt, at what point do they become more than machines? At what point do they cross the line into consciousness? Do we grant them rights? Do we see them as partners? Or do we forever treat them as tools? This is the philosophical heart of the 50-year vision, because the line between human and machine may blur so much that one day we might not be able to tell the difference. So here's the vision. Cities run by robots, humans enhanced with cybernetics, colonies built by machines in space, a society freed or perhaps trapped by automation. The 50-year future of robotics and automation is both exhilarating and terrifying. Which path we take depends on choices made today.
We've traveled through history. We've explored robots in our homes, our jobs, our cities. We've seen the rise of humanoids, swarms, autonomous factories, and even the possibility of cyborg humans and robot-run colonies in space. Now it's time to step back and ask the ultimate question: what does all of this mean for us? Here's the truth. Robotics and automation are not about machines. They're about humanity. They're about how we choose to live, how we choose to work, and how we choose to share this planet, and maybe others, with intelligent machines. For the first time in history, humans are creating something that may equal or surpass us in ability. And that means the choices we make in the next few decades will echo for centuries. We stand at a fork in the road. One path leads to abundance, robots freeing us from toil, societies built on creativity, exploration, and growth. The other path leads to inequality, unrest, and control, a world where the benefits of robotics go to the few, while the many are left behind. Which future do we get? That depends on us. The real question isn't what can robots do, it's what will we do with robots? So where do humans fit in? We don't need to outcompete robots on strength, speed, or precision. That's their game. Our role is creativity, empathy, leadership, and vision. Robots will handle the labor. Humans must handle the meaning.
So what do you do sitting here today watching this video? Stay curious. Keep learning. Don't fear the robots. Understand them. The future belongs to those who embrace change, not those who fight it. And if you want to thrive in a robotic age, the best thing you can do is keep your mind open, your skills adaptable, and your imagination alive. The story of robotics and automation isn't just about machines. It's about humanity writing its next chapter. Will we rise together with our creations or fall divided by them? That choice is ours. And the future, it starts now. If this journey has opened your eyes, do me a favor. Smash that like button, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and most importantly, subscribe to Byte Frontier AI for more deep dives into the future of tech, AI, and robotics. This channel is where we explore the frontier together. And trust me, the next wave of innovation will be even wilder than what we've seen today. So hit that subscribe button now, and let's build the future side by side.